All right, what's up, guys? We're back for episode 5, and sorry, just checking our sound. We're back for episode 5 this week, and got some pretty cool guests here again, like normal. I mean, I'm not gonna say any of our guests aren't cool, so I think this whole thing's pretty fun. But yeah, this week we got Cody Carlton coming on here in just a few minutes, and Jared's gonna come on later, Jared Jackson. So we're going to get a chance to talk to those guys, and we're going to announce our first guest for next week. So stay tuned for that later at the end of the show. And if you guys got any questions for these two, send them in for sure. We got some questions for them already, but I think you guys, anybody that knows them better than I do, or better than some of the people that might have recommended them to me, go ahead and send them in. We might get some cool stories out of it. So I want to hear them. Any chance that we can, we're going to hear some cool stories. But yeah, and first off, I also wanted to start off with saying thanks to DJ Stotler for those cool pictures from the Bristol Dirt Race. That was pretty awesome, the Bristol Nationals. He messaged me and asked me if I wanted anybody specific, and I had to tell him Kyle Busch. We talked about it last week, but I was glad to see all the shots he got. Chris Ferguson and Kyle Busch and that whole team. So, and if you haven't seen them, go check them out. Also posted them on Twitter. So it's some pretty good shots he got, man, and he's a pretty good little editor actually. So if you're out there, DJ, good work, man. Thanks for looking out. And thanks also to Steven Adams and Austin Yarborough for last weekend's interviews. That was pretty cool. Like I said, we didn't get to do as much as we wanted to, but first shot, dry run, so I think it went pretty well. And, I think it might have opened some doors for some future shows, maybe some future things. But we'll have to wait and see. So let's see what else. Bristol NASCAR race this weekend. Going to be checking that out, and we're also going to be. Looks like right now, probably going to be out at Del Mar. As far as I know, plans change, but as far as I know, that's where we'll be. So if you're out there, say hey, or if you're not racing this weekend, you're looking for somewhere to race, go to Del Mar. Actually, I think their parking's sold out. So I'm not sure how that's working out, but I think their parking's done. But regardless, you can come check it out if you're not doing anything. Come see us trackside, and maybe we'll run into some pretty cool people from up there. I know it's a different crowd, but than some of you guys watching. But I know we got some guys from Delaware that watch the show, so which appreciate all of you guys. And so far, we're getting crazy amount of views, and we got a lot of new page likes this week, so that's awesome. Keep them coming. And if you're not sharing this stuff, if you're watching it, just share it to your personal page. What's a couple seconds, somebody that might miss it and not know what it is can check it out and enjoy it. What's up, Tate? Glad to have you on here again, man. Glad to see you're following along. Oh, and I'm still working on getting you on here, dude. Tate, I'll shoot you a message, all right? We'll talk about it. So, but all right, let me see. Cody Carlton, you ready to roll, man? We can get you on here. Let's see. Everybody hear me good too, by the way? Can I get a thumbs up? Testing the new equipment this week. Got a heads up that the gaming headset wasn't working. So I mean, it was working. It just. All right, cool. Thanks, Tate. Oh, here he comes. What's going on, man? You picking me up good? All right, guys. Mr. Cody Carlton. Go ahead and shoot us your questions. Matthew, I know you might have some. Ryan Farmer, too. So I know Ryan's in the pit with you all the time. So so what's going on, man? You getting ready for the weekend?
Yeah, we're gonna go play around at Dixieland.
Dixieland, good track. Tate's
Yep.
on here following along, so you know he
Hey,
was going to be on here. we I announced earlier you guys were switching, so I had an idea of what I was going to do, and I had to kind of flip flop it. So if I get a little off track, you can stop me. But I think we got a good show coming, and Jared he'll be on here in just a short. But
yeah.
I haven't known you as long as I've known a lot of the other guys around the kart track. But man, you came out on the scene and you shot right to the top, dude. You went like I think it was half a season, and you just started winning races right and left. So what took you? For the people that don't know, we'll start off at the beginning. What got you started in racing, man?
Honestly, like one of my best friends in high school, he was a drag racer. He got me into it, and I started racing junior dragsters, and then kind of got bored with that. So then he started arena racing. So then I got into that also, and then that's kind of where it took off in arena racing.
Yeah, and so I was gonna ask about the number that you got, but I actually read a previous interview. I actually did some research this time. I read a previous interview, and it said the number 94 was on the first car that you bought, so you just stuck with it.
That's right.
Was
Yep.
it on the arena car?
Yes, sir. It was on the arena car.
Oh man, that's actually the first time I saw you race was out at the arena car race. My buddy called me. He said, "We're going out to the arena car race this weekend," and I was like, "All right, let's go." Never even heard of it really, and man, that was some of the most fun racing I've ever been to.
Yeah, I miss it for sure.
I've heard stories of before I started coming to cool stuff at arena racing, but I didn't get to experience it long. It's a shame it's gone. But from from where you were in arena racing, I mean, you were dominating arena racing. What got you to go from arena racing to karts? What kind of transition happened there?
I think that had something to do with Mark Roberts, and he had a couple of go. So we raced him at Atlanta a couple of times with wings on them in the wing champs, and then a couple friends like Matt Dale. He was racing dirt, so we started going hanging out with him, and then he kind of got us started and helped us. And shoot, I can remember one of the first couple of times, man, we'd had some old brick tires. We'd be killing them with Krug in the garage and got there in some race, but those were some good times.
Yeah, and like I said, you definitely. I think everything you've raced, you've just went right to the front at some point. Was it late models or limiteds you ran at Langley?
It was late models.
It was late model. I mean, you were running up front in that. You won legend races, you won the arena cars, you won in karting. You're one of the bigger names in karting now, man. And it didn't take you long to get there. So, what kind of work goes week in and week out into for you to be that good? Is it just a mindset that no matter what racing you do, you'll figure it out and you'll be that good?
I mean, I think it's got a lot to do with being able to adapt. I've always seemed to be able to just adapt to whatever I hop in pretty quickly. So, but I mean, as far as the work that's involved in running up front, man, it's another job. You can't run up front without putting in the work every day of the week. I mean, whether it's 2 hours a day or you get home from work and you work until 12 at night and then you go to sleep. But I mean, it takes a lot of work to run up front.
Yeah, it does, and I'm glad you kind of said it's like a second job because not only are you worrying about yourself, keeping yourself up front, you have a lot of other drivers. Ryan Farmer, he's following along. His son, the junior drivers that you have and you've had in the pits with you guys just put them right to the front, and I think it's great that you guys have that. But what kind of is it taking it to another level when you have those kids looking at you saying, "I need to win too"?
I mean, I want them to win just as much as they want to win. So, I'm doing everything in my power to make sure, they qualify good and run up front in the race and have a shot at it. I mean, you can't control what happens in the races all the time, but you got to at least give them a shot.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's something that you and a lot of the guys, Austin Wyatt I've had on here, and Jared's coming on later. All you guys are working a lot with the junior drivers and the next generation. So that's something that we all get to look forward to. Is there kind of an older kid coming up maybe that you've worked with that's getting ready that you might say this kid might come up here and take some of my shine away and take some of my wins from me because they're quick.
I mean, not really. I mean, I've been struggling to find a good junior three driver. I've been trying. I had a couple this weekend, and one of them, Ryan Micah, he's going to be running with somebody else in VDK. But I'm going to try to get that Aiden Hare boy to run with me in VDK, and just try to help the kids. Really, I mean, I've almost come to the point where I want to back off of racing myself and just help everybody else.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like a second job, and it just adds layers onto it and more emotion into it when you want it, like you said, just as bad as these kids do. But I'm glad to see some you guys helping these kids out, man. And I know when you started too, you said you were running with Mark Roberts, and then what happened to develop it into Carlton Motorsports? Like what went on in your mind to get that?
Uh, Sorry, I just had a phone call coming in, but it's really always been Carlton Motorsports ever since the arena cars, and we just kind of stuck with that the whole time. I mean, Mark had his little deal with Roberts Racing and stuff when we ran his Pro 6 car and stuff like that. But as far as my stuff, it's always been Carlton Motorsports.
Yeah, I just remember you and Austin Wyatt and all teaming up and running pretty well together. That's why I thought I'd ask. But I know running a team the size that you guys do. I mean, you guys have 10 carts over there, man. Are there, do you have a set number of people that you try and keep in the pit to help with all these carts? Like,
I mean, I just would like the usual people to be there. I don't really like a lot of different people's hands on the stuff because then you don't know what they've done versus what this other guy's done. I mean, obviously, I'm stuck in the trailer most the whole day, so I have to rely on people like Dallas and Mark to make sure that the stuff is right, and Jessica and Cullen and everybody else on the team, so I can focus on the tires and trying to keep everybody up front.
yeah, for sure, man. You got a pretty solid team behind you. And, speaking of your team and other drivers up front, like I said, we mentioned that you've been up front quite a bit. Is there a win that you've had that stuck out in your mind over the rest of them?
Uh, Definitely Pro Animal at Williamston. I mean, it didn't pay a whole lot. To me, it was a prestigious race. I mean, you beat guys like Yarborough and Steve-O and Diggin and, you know, pretty much anybody that's anybody is in that race and stuff. But another one would have to be the King of the Cage thing that Alexia put on with her series race. I mean, I've had multiple. I mean, Pro Limited Halloween Havoc. That was a huge race.
Oh
So I mean,
yeah, for sure.
it's one that sticks out. Been a few of them.
I mean, would you say since you transitioned into karting is from driving the different vehicles and different things that you have is there a little bit more prestige to some of these kart races? And I know like the arena car stuff that was fading out, but is there maybe a legend car race that you won that stuck out like that in your mind too?
Probably just the first ones that I won. Like the first time I won at Southside and the first time I won at Langley. Really, the one that I won at Langley meant a lot more because it was more of the hometown.
I got you. And man, you can hold on to that Southside win for a long time because being that it's gone now, that's something that you can tell stories about when you get older.
Yeah, it's a shame about that, but
It is. And I also, being that we have Jared Action Jackson coming up on here, man, I wanted to ask you. He's got a nickname. What have you got? Any nicknames people are starting to give you?
nah, man, I had a nickname a long time. Well, when I started racing with Cheeseburger and Zetterval, he gave me the name Kid, and that kind of stuck for a while. But yeah, I never really had anything like that, man.
I mean, Cody Kid, the kid Carlton kind of sticks out. That works. But let's see what else I got over here. So I know, we'll have Jared on here in just a minute, but what has running against somebody like him continuously in like VDKA and things like that? What has running against people like him and Austin Wyatt and those guys done for your driving in karts?
I mean, to be honest with you, Jared's probably one of the guys that I have the most respect for out on the track. Me and him have always raced each other really hard, but we kind of know each limits, and we've both told each other, hey, if it's the lap going for the win, I'm gonna do what I gotta do, and you do what you gotta do. But as far as other than that, I mean, we race each other clean. And I mean, Austin, I haven't really gotten the chance to race against him a few times, but normally, he's in a different class and stuff. But he's taught me, a lot of what I know, and definitely wouldn't be as quickly successful if it wasn't for him and just showing me the rope and kind of, guide me along the way.
And other than running with those guys and helping like your speed and stuff like that, has there been any lessons since you've come into karting that you learned like immediately, almost after starting it?
I mean, biggest thing I've seen is every time you hit the track, you gotta kind of relearn how hard you can have it. I mean, you gotta learn the grip on the track and the grip level tires and figure out how hard you can push it. I mean, that's to me what has made this pretty much the most challenging racing that I've done, is that it's just something different.
Yeah, for sure. And I myself have enjoyed watching you and all these guys battle it out. And there's countless names that I could say. Cody Carlton and Jared Jackson, Cody Carlton and maybe Ty Bass, Cody Carlton and Tyler Weaver. I think you guys battled it out down south. So that, like, you've been up front pretty much every track you've been to. And has there been a time that you've had to stop and say, like, this happened so fast and we got to the top so fast, I just need to take a step back and realize where I'm at?
Well, I mean, you don't have a choice to do that when you go somewhere and you don't run very good after you've run like that. And actually that's been happening quite a bit here recently for me. I mean, it seems like I've been struggling on my flat cart. I've still been good on my buggy, but I mean, racing will humble you real quick. I mean, you be on the top one week, and next week, you be struggling to stay in the top 10.
Yeah, for sure. I read a quote from an old retired driver that said that racing is like boxing. That the way it humbles you feels like you just got knocked out. Like it just takes you right down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that it's. I can't say I've been all the way up there, but I've been right here, and I feel like I'm going up a little, and then it just drops right back down. So I've been there. And I think every driver goes through that at some point, but it's something that you either you power through and you keep going and you get back up and you push, or I mean, you don't really have a choice if you want to keep driving.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but so when you started with Mark and Cullen, was Premier Karting already like? I can't remember when you started if it was already going on.
Actually, when I started with them, I had never raced a flat cart. I didn't race a flat cart until I met Cheeseburger and kind of started riding for him at Dixieland, and then he was buddies with Austin, and that's kind of how I met Austin, was through Cheeseburger. And we went to a couple big races. Actually, the first big race we went to, we were on a V1, and they had already come out with a V2, and we qualified like second out of 50 and out-qualified the other people in the same pit as us. They were all kind of like wondering, who the heck is this guy? And, what do they got on here? So, I mean, but yeah, Mark and Cullen, they've always just been champ kart people and still doing it.
And so being on Premiere, I also wanted to ask you, I feel like everybody that runs a Premier Cart has at least some kind of relationship with Hermie, and he tries to give as much trackside support and be there at the races as he can. So, what is it like week in and week out, knowing that you can go and interact with Hermie Sadler or those guys and say, look, if I need some setup help or the cart's doing this on this track, what is that like having that support at the track?
I mean, really, I don't know anybody else that has that kind of support, but my support's really always come from Austin, because Austin was, he was there from the get-go. So he knows all about everything. And it's nice to be able to, see Hermie and Robin come to the racetrack and actually come, shake your hand and have a conversation with you. And, it makes you feel like a good customer or whatever. And instead of, I mean, some people, they don't probably never even interacted with their chassis builder before. So it's nice to have somebody like that.
Yeah, it really is. And, seeing Hermie at these bigger races and Robin at these bigger races, like the Spring Gobbler last week, those are things that are a little different to see. You might see a chassis builder or somebody or a seller of the chassis stick kind of around the hometown a little more. But it's nice to see them at those races like at Capital City last weekend. So that's a good point you bring up there, and it's a little different than I think it's kind of changing the game a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. If we could just go kart.
Yeah. Now, what kind of plans have you guys got for this year, for 2021, man?
I'm kind of burned out a little bit on traveling all over the place, but we're gonna do VDK obviously, and try to run all the UKS races and maybe hit some GOAT races here and there and some WK. I mean, I'm just kind of winging it, honestly. Like this weekend, we're going to go play around on Saturday night. Just kind of whatever we can find to go hit up. But for sure, VDK and UKS.
Yeah, I mentioned before you came on, I mentioned Del Mar. You should come check that track out. It's a lot like Albemarle, man. Flat track. It's a driver's track.
Yeah, I've never actually been, but it looks fun.
Yeah, it's a different track for sure, but it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's a driver's track. I think you'd do well there. So since you've been started in karting, was there when you're running late models and things like that, obviously a lot of times you have to have a sponsor to keep things going. Was there a sponsor that maybe you brought with you, or is it just you're working your butt off now? I know you work a lot, man. From what I hear, you work a lot. So is there a sponsor that you've kind of carried along and somebody that's helped you out?
Man, I wish. It's me, myself, and I. I mean, obviously, customers help make it easier for all of us to do it. I mean, I certainly couldn't do it by myself and running at the caliber that I'm running at. But I mean, honestly, I never really tried to get sponsored for go-karts. I guess it wouldn't hurt to try, but I never really had much sponsorship in anything else either. So, I mean, just.
Yeah, I mean, some sponsors better than none, and you've won a lot of those bigger races. So I think if you haven't tried it, maybe you give it a shot, man. I think you'd have a good chance with it.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to get money out of people these days.
You're not kidding, man. Trust me, I know. Jared's actually on here a little bit early. You hear me, Jared? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and bring you on here. Maybe you can tell me a story about Cody that I haven't heard yet, or something. Or Cody can tell me a story about Mr. Jared.
I got a good story.
I need some juice on Jared. I ain't got it yet.
Look, there he is. Tell him about when I first met you, man, and you had a bet with Cheeseburger. We was racing it. We was going to Capital City, and Cheeseburger said something about it. If he outruns you, you got to give him one of your leather jackets. And sure enough, we come up there. I outrun you, and you threw your leather jacket in my seat and said, "Here you go." Yeah, I remember that. I had to eat those words.
Yep.
So one of the best memories I had of Cody, he probably won't like this. We were at Capital City running a champ race, and it was one of the first times I had ran a champ, and Cody blocked me about 5 times. And finally, I was like, if he blocks me again, he's just getting took out. And he blocked me again, so he got took out. And after the race, he was crying about it, and he asked me if I checked the points before I ran the race, and I was like, no, I didn't check the points. I just came to race. And anyways, Cody's changed a lot since then, and he's won plenty of leather jackets since then. And he's he part of racing is being able to kind of get took out and just take it on the chin and just move on to the next one. You can't sit around and cry about it. I mean, stuff happens. We're all racing. We're all trying to win. I think I could speak for a lot of people. I mean, I get upset if something happens kind of early on into the race, but as the race is progressing, I'm fine with kind of whatever the outcome might be, and I try to keep my mouth shut.
Yeah, Jared, Cody mentioned earlier that you were one of those guys that he has a lot of respect for. That I think it's in a way that, like you mentioned, you can take it on the chin and keep on going. And I think Cody's really come a long way in that way too. Like you mentioned, and having the two of you battle it out every week in VDK last year, and that's a good segue into what I was getting ready to ask next. It was nice to see the two of you able to kind of not knock each other out of the way, but race pretty hard and not, be in each other's faces trying to fight. That's a little different than some of the races you see.
Oh yeah. Well, you don't want to be fighting with the guy that you're going to be racing with, on a weekly basis. I mean, I race about twice a month, but 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be around Cody at some point. So, kind of what goes around comes around kind of deal. So you try to be, you try to treat each other, how you want to be treated. And, I mean, I'm friends with probably 90% of the people that I race with. And I mean, not everybody's gonna like you the same way, and that's fine. It might be tough to swallow at first, but once you move past that, it is what it is. But I mean, I truly am friends with about 90% of the people that I race with.
Yeah, I'd say so. I agree with that. And Cody, you're a lot more reserved. You're a reserved, kind of quiet guy, but you kind of, like I said, you've come a long way in the way that you don't get under people's skin, you don't fight, and you don't get in people's faces. You don't do any of that stuff. You're just like Jared now. You kind of just take it on the chin, you keep moving. But it's great to see the two of you, like I said, not just getting along, but racing that way and not fighting. And Ryan Farmer told me to ask about your duel at Albemarle, and you guys finished first and second in like 6 classes.
Yeah, that Cody can probably speak on it, but I mean that day the track was really really good. Like the last practice, I went like I knew we were going to break the track record basically based off the time that I went. And Cody actually like came and asked me a few things, and I told him what I was doing or whatever. And we go out there to qualify, and it kind of, we're 1-2 for probably, I think it was about 6 classes or something. And I went a 10-9 probably 3 seconds before Cody went a 10-9, and then he went a 10-9. So I had the track record for about 3 seconds. And so Cody ended up winning the battle that day, but I won the war because I took the most money home that day. So and then Austin Yarborough comes in and just obliterates mine and Cody's time. So it made us both look silly.
Were you going to say something, Cody?
Yeah, I was saying the same thing he did, bro. Just washed us out.
Yeah, Austin. He's I don't know what it is, man. That guy, he's just incredible to watch drive. To be honest, that cart does not slip or drop.
A
But
good tire man too.
yeah, for real, for sure, he does. Would that day at Albemarle be probably you guys' favorite races, or I'll say race day against each other?
I don't know, man. We've had so many of them
Yeah.
like that.
I mean, I wouldn't trade a nice sunny day at Albemarle for nothing. So I'm kind of jealous. I'm going this weekend just to watch and help a few people, and I'm kind of jealous. I'm gonna be standing on the sidelines watching Cody. After if it's just a normal crowd out there, it doesn't really get under my skin as much. But when Cody's out there, I want to go out there and beat him. So, but I'll go out there and watch and hang out.
That's the good kind of competition. And you know what, Jared, while you're on here, I asked Cody earlier. I mentioned that you had the nickname, Action Jackson. I asked him if he had any nicknames, and he mentioned the Kid, Cody the Kid. You got any nicknames maybe we can give Cody? Think you can help with that?
I don't know. I mean, the Kid was a pretty good nickname when he first came around because he would cry like a kid about things. But he's outgrown that now, so maybe we'll call him the Big Boy or something. I don't know.
I need to see a Cody Big Boy Carlton sticker now.
That ain't right.
No, we'll keep working on it, Cody. I'll let you know what Jared comes up with.
10-4.
All right. And let's see. I know Albemarle was one day that was already mentioned, but I witnessed you guys at Capital City. I think it was one of the champ races. You guys were battling it out hard, man. And I know, Jared, you've won the Brockwell Memorial race 2 years in a row. And Cody, you've been pretty fast in that race, man. Is there something, looking back, is there something you could have changed? You think maybe you could have gave Jared a run for his money in those two?
Man, I don't know. Racing is so, it's so much luck, mental, like, it's you could be the fastest one out there, but probably ain't gonna win. Just the way it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, unless you're 0.3 faster than the whole field, then you better win. But
yeah, I mean, Cody won the King of the Cage and the Champ Card, and he won another Champ Card race that Alexia put on at Capital City. So I was in contention to win both of those, and it didn't work out. So I feel like we're pretty even on the the big champ wins in the area, and it is always a blast to race the champs, especially with Cody and some other guys that I race with a lot. I enjoy it a lot.
now, Cody, were you at the Big O last year?
Yes. Probably race.
You were?
Because I was in the back half of the field and everything, but there.
Man, no, let me tell you why. I had to ask, okay? Because Mr. Jared Jackson over here had us running to swap motors in between classes that were almost back to back. That's why I had to ask. But we had him out there, and I got to say, man, that was one of the most fun races I've ever been to helping anyone. You guys both, I'm sure, have plans to run that race this year?
I think I'm going to sit that one out.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be back.
Cody, you skipping it?
It costs a lot of money to go run that race, man.
You're not kidding, it does. I just went and watched, and it cost me a lot of money.
If Mr. Brian Holder will have me back to drive his cart, I'll definitely be back with hopefully a lot more horsepower this year.
Yeah, Jared, it was a lot of fun having you down there, man, and helping out. But and Austin Wyatt, Jared, he said, ask Jared about open qualifying this past year.
If he's talking about the Big O, I don't know. It was very, very wet. I had an open that was spitting out oil all over my go-kart, myself, and everything. So it was a handful. But I think Austin's probably referring to ripping my numbers off because he passed me so fast. But he ended up ripping half of his body off later in the evening. So he might have been doing me a favor.
You still good, Cody? All right. It was froze up on my screen, just making sure. And Austin said, yeah, the Big O, Cody, maybe you can come down there and help Jared out since apparently he likes to run those back-to-back classes.
Well, he ain't the only one.
Yeah, all you guys like to do that, man. I can't do that. I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I'll skip a class before I run back-to-back. But I know that let me see. Sorry, I had it written down right here. Other than the Big O, is there a big race that you guys had in mind this year? Cody, you also?
I mean, Champ Max, man, I want to win that bad, and I know Jared does too.
Champ Max Daddy.
Yeah, I mean, I've qualified in the top about the last 3 years, and have led laps in that race, a good amount of laps, and hadn't won, and that would be really cool. But for me, growing up in Elizabeth City, I mean, I definitely circle like Pro Clone, Halloween Havoc every year. It's not that it might be like the biggest race there is, but for me, growing up racing at Dixieland, that's the race I want to win.
I'd say that's the biggest race at Dixieland of the year, so I'd say that's a pretty big race. I always enjoy watching the Halloween Havoc. And Cody, Austin says that he'll put his August paycheck on it that you're there to run the limited champ buggy. You can mark it down. You can screenshot it, whatever you got to do. August paycheck, Austin's betting it.
Well, I don't know. You might win that bet.
All right. Cody, I know it's right about that time, man, and you probably got some stuff you got. Are you running this weekend, you said? No?
Yeah, we're going to go to Dixie.
Oh, yeah, Dixieland, yep. And so, we'll be keeping a check on Race Monitor and stuff like that, and I'll probably be sharing some results. Hope to see you in Victory Lane. But for right now, I think we're going to talk to Mr. Jared Jackson for a little bit, and I just want to say thanks for coming on here, and we hope to see you at the track real soon, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you having me.
Is there anybody you want to thank before you get off here?
Everybody. I mean, my whole team, everybody that helps me, that's it.
All right, man. Well, like I said, we'll hope to see you at the track soon. And like I said, thanks for coming on here. All right?
All right, man. See you later.
All right, later. All right. Action Jackson. Jared, how you doing, man? You just hanging out?
Just hanging out. It's a nice day here.
It is, man. It's a beautiful day outside. I was enjoying the heat myself. And, we talked to Cody about how he got started, and I know not everybody knows Mr. Jared Jackson, because we've had so many different people on here, car background, asphalt, late models, dirt, stuff like that. So I wanted to ask you, Jared, so you can tell everybody, how did you get your start in racing?
I don't remember the exact year. It was probably around 96 or 95. My dad could tell you, but basically I went up to Richard Noblet's shop that he still works out of, and there was I think it was a greenish color trick go-kart sitting in there, and Hubert that works at Richard's shop, he helped my dad put it together, and we went to the race. I think it was kind of towards the end of the season. I got a few races in, and that's kind of how it all started.
That's pretty awesome. How old were you at the time? Do you remember? 95, 96, you were what, 6, 7?
Yeah, I might have been about 6 or so. I can't really remember. It was a long time ago.
And, being around the track and being around your dad, I can honestly see why, being around John, why Cody mentioned as you one of the best people around at the racetrack, because your dad's a great guy and you guys are a great family, and it was a real pleasure to get to hang out with y'all at the Big O. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Oh yeah.
And with some of the wins that we mentioned, obviously the Brockwell Memorial Race back-to-back winner, just getting your helmet from that last weekend. We might I might get some pictures from you and share those on the page for the people that haven't seen it. But what kind of races before that win? What was a race that stuck out in your mind that you won?
Probably my first like biggest win I ever had was in 2000. We went to Daytona, and we were just local people, and I don't think we had any intention of winning, but we wound up winning. So that was my first like big win that I had ever had, was at Daytona, and there was 100 and some people in the class that day, so it was a big field, and I don't know. I've had a lot of different wins over the years. Maybe not as many with significant names attached or whatever. I got a few wins at Thanksgiving Thunder one year, against some really good competition. So that is definitely up there. Um, I've came really really close a lot of times at a lot of different races. Like the Wayne Pool race at Thanksgiving Thunder. I won the first segment of that race and came up a little bit short. And the first ever Lucas Oil race they had, I came very close to winning that. So there's been a lot of races I've been very close my whole life, and that's kind of what keeps me into it. I want to be able to do it, and I've stuck with it. To try to make it happen, and it just a couple Max Daddy Champ races, very very close, and it just the stuff just hadn't worked out. But that's what keeps me wanting to come back to try to get one of those races off the bucket list.
For sure, man. And I know that you're just like I am in that mindset, and I'm sure Cody's the same way. That's why he was talking about running those champ races. That when you come that close, this close, that you run the same time as the leader, especially when you look on Race Monitor. That makes you want it even more the next time. But I wanted to ask you too. We were talking about nicknames earlier. How did you get the nickname Action Jackson?
I think one of my mom's best friends probably gave me that nickname. I remember we had an announcer that announced out at Albemarle over the years, and I remember him calling me that as well. And his name was Larry McCoy. I really miss him, and it kind of hadn't been the same out there. I think Tate's our announcer now, and he just tells you to get to the grid. So it's not quite the same, but I remember Larry calling me Action Jackson.
Yeah, the show we did with Doug. I asked him about an announcer down there for you guys, and I told him he needs to get you guys an announcer. There's some great racing down that Albemarle. So if anybody's an announcer and wants a gig or something, or wants to try out, I'm sure Albemarle would be happy to have you to call some racing. But I also wanted to ask you. You and I, we've talked a lot about different things, and somebody that's been around the track with you quite a bit, that I've been able to have conversations with a lot, is Scott. And how long has Scott been coming to the track with you?
He's probably been coming about 3 years now, and I could not do it without him. My dad's getting a little older. He can't really lift the stuff that he was able to lift, and sometimes it might be too cold or something. He don't want to come, but Scott's there. I've known Scott for a long, long time, but a couple years ago I ran into him, and he said if I needed a hand to give him a holler, and I gave him a holler, and now I kind of won't let him go now. So it's hard to find somebody to help. You're not paying the people to help, and it's a lot of work. But we've had a lot of fun, and it's kind of like I'm the one driving the go-kart, but I'm glad to have Scott and my dad and stuff like that experience some of the times that we're able to win or whatever, and kind of see what it feels like, because there's nothing like it. So,
well, a couple things. First off, I want to tell you, if I ever get a weekend where we're not racing, I'm coming to help you again. I really enjoy being around your family and being around Scott. They're all really good people. Another thing, your wife is on here and Ty Bass are suggesting that you announce this weekend, and I can't think of anything better than hearing Mr. Action Jackson on the mic.
Oh, I mean, I can do it. Ain't no problem. I can do it.
Tate, I know you're on here watching. You heard it here, man. Hand this man a mic and let him go to work Saturday.
You might be surprised. I mean, I think from seeing the Ty Bass and Timmy Tot podcast, I think they're more than qualified to come up here to Albemarle to announce.
Oh yeah, for sure. And speaking of Ty, since you're right here, I know you're watching. I'm gonna get you and Timmy on here too at some point. I'll message you guys. And Tate said, "Come on, Jared." So Mike's all yours on Saturday, man. If I need some live video, Lee, if you're there, I know he'll probably be out there. If anybody's out there, get a live video of Mr. Jared Jackson out there if he gets a microphone in his hand. And let's see. And I talked to Cody too about this. Little bit of a change up. There's a lot of people that have been in and out of maybe running with you, or if I remember correctly, didn't you run with Jonathan Cash for a little bit?
Well, yeah, maybe a little bit.
Down at Margarettsville, I think I was one specific race I remember.
Yeah, it was some years back that we've had tried to run with Jonathan and stuff like that. The past few years, we've kind of done our own thing. I had Richard Noblet and Wes Morgan. They helped me out to kind of get back on my feet when I needed some help to get back on my feet. And I've had a lot of people over the years when I needed a hand or something to kind of keep me going. I mean, I've raced each year straight some sort of way, and there's been a lot of people that have helped me out. When I was in college, I raced for a guy, Bill Marshburn, for quite a few years, and that was a lot of fun. And it's like I said, there's always been somebody there that has kind of been able to keep me going.
For sure, man. And what I wanted to bring up too is, with all the people that you've had helping you, what does it mean to you to be able to give back to the junior drivers like Vernon, like VJ?
I mean, it's fun. I mean, Vernon reached out to me last year. I've never advertised to help anyone, or maybe even thought I was good enough to help anyone, but he gave me a call last year. I really didn't know him, and asked if I would help him and his son, and I said, "Are you sure about that?" And he was like, "Yeah, I want you to help." And initially it started off, it's kind of slow, but he ended up winning his first Eagle in the VDK, and he had a top 3 qualifying run at the Maxi Nationals, and he did some good things that made me feel like I didn't do him wrong or whatever. And I've become friends with Vernon. Vernon's a nice guy, and we talk about stuff outside of racing and stuff like that. And it was definitely a new experience. I've helped people, but not on that kind of level before. I don't really like the stress and the pressure of having all those people to help and everybody's expecting to win. It's just got to be a lot of stress.
So is that have anything to do with why you and Austin Wyatt, you went to Austin and you talked and you guys said, I got a lot of pressure on me, or I want to take some of the pressure off of the setup and the tire side, and I want to just focus on driving?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I had thought about doing something different the past few years because I was spending way too much time working on stuff, and I'm a perfectionist about things. I mean, I would clean every rim in the trailer and every gear, and I mean everything was just completely perfect, and it just took a lot of time. And it's kind of tough to hand over the reins to somebody else, but I knew Vernon was wanting to race a little bit more than I was probably able to. And I had a couple other people reach out to me this winter wanting some help, and I just felt like, I couldn't really do them the right justice. And Austin had reached out to me about, racing with him and driving his champ that he has and stuff like that. And so far, it's we're just a couple races in, but so far it's working out pretty decent. And we definitely got some room for improvement, but I think we'll be there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think time is all it takes right now. You and Austin is a recipe for success for sure. And I wanted to tell you too, Dwight Cawley wanted to tell you that you better thank your dad, or you better say good things about your dad for your who's your sponsor. So
Yeah,
just
that's
letting
right.
you know. But
The
and
White Collie could be a sponsor too, by the way.
it could be a sponsor.
Yeah, it could
Um,
be.
And we mentioned Daytona. You ran Daytona and things like that. But I also wanted to bring up that you were a development driver with Hendrick, and I wanted you to talk a little bit about what that experience was like, and what you took from that and took forward.
Yeah, well, I mean that just was kind of luck of the draw. My dad had became friends with Rick Hendrick's brother John many years ago, like in the '80s. And I guess John had told my dad, if any of his boys, ever grew up and got into racing, to let him know, and he would help out. And so he helped me all the way up until he passed away. He died in the plane crash going to Martinsville to the NASCAR race, and I got to know him a lot and spend some time with him. I actually spent a whole lot of time with him. I lived in Charlotte the last summer that he was living. I believe it was 2004, and I ran a legend car for them at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and was just kind of getting my feet wet with that, with bigger plans, for the following year and moving forward. And none of that stuff ended up happening. And it was a tough pill to swallow. And I mean, you lost a friend, and you lost kind of like what your dream was as well. So it was definitely hard for probably a few years there. Because I kind of had a lot of death and stuff like that, happening in my life at that time. So it was tough. I mean, I remember watching like Trevor Bayne win the Daytona 500, and I remember, thinking like, man, that should be me, And it was tough, but I think you get to a certain point where you just kind of turn the page. I definitely wish Mr. Hendrick was alive right now. If I wasn't racing, I'm sure I would be working um, for him in some capacity, and I'd probably be leaning on him for quite a bit of advice about life in general. So I mean, it was definitely a tough blow, but it was a cool experience.
Yeah, those are experiences you can carry with you for life, Jared. And I'm glad you brought that up. And also, Brett Drake on here is commenting, and he asked for you to tell us about your Hendrick onesie.
Yeah, so I don't know, from the time I was a kid, Mr. Hendrick, we would get like a custom suit like every year. Um, so I mean, I've got a bunch of them, but I mean they were like all white suits. I mean you don't see anything like them anymore, but they were a custom suit and it was all white with like the Hendrick logo on the chest. And I got a new one every year, and it was, I don't know, I was so young at the time. I mean, you just really didn't know how cool it was necessarily, but looking back on it, I mean, there isn't too many people that have a Hendrick Motorsports like official suit. So I mean, looking back on it, it's pretty neat. Like I said, it was nothing that I was any more special than the next person or whatever. It was just all about connections and stuff, and um, it was kind of cool. I always thought, growing up, that it was just kind of meant to be for some sort of reason, and um, you know, God had other plans. So, but I'm fine with everything now. I'm at peace with everything.
Yeah, and like I've said, you are one of the greatest people to be around at the racetrack. If you guys haven't had the pleasure of working around Jared, walking up and talking to him, or if you don't know if you can walk up and talk to Jared, I can tell you right now, Jared's one of the most approachable people at the racetrack. So have a go talk to Jared. It's a good conversation always. And I wanted you also to kind of give us what the Brockwell Memorial Race wins meant to you, because we've read the posts, and if you haven't, go back on on Jared's posts and find those. He talked about it, and I've heard the interviews and things like that, but I wanted to hear out of your mouth what do those wins mean to you, man?
I mean, they're definitely, it's very, very special. It isn't that it's the most prestigious or it's the biggest race. It's a prestigious and big race for our area, but in karting in general, I think it's definitely on the up and up of, people wanting to win it and all. But, you know, I lost my brother when I was 15. He was 13. So, with Dylan passing at such a young age, I naturally just felt connected to that family, even though I didn't know them, as well as, maybe I should have or whatever. I mean, I knew Dylan, but we're quite a bit different in age. And so I know what the family, has went through and stuff like that. And I mean, they have a scholarship for my brother at the church here down the road, and I know how special that is to my family. So, I mean, to do something annually like that for Dylan, to have his mom and dad and sister and buddies and grandma and everybody out there, I know how special that has to be for them. And I mean, there's a lot of Dylan's friends. There's a lot of people that are a lot more, deserving to win that race, than me. But for whatever reason, I've been lucky enough to win it two times now. The first time I won, I went by myself. I had no help. I pushed the cart to the grid. I washed my tires. I did everything by myself, and I was able to win. And it was it was cool, but it was a bummer because, my dad and Scott, weren't there to experience it. And I wanted to go back this year so they could, experience that. And we were lucky enough, to where we could experience that. And, naturally I don't want to lose. So I definitely have that race circled on my calendar. But I mean, I would be extremely happy if, like a Colin Bowden or Corey Roberts or some guys like that were really close friends with Dylan. I mean, I would be happy if I lost the race and they won. So
Yeah, for sure. And JD Portlock being his best friend being there also is a big thing that I saw him this past weekend at the Spring Gobbler. It's good to see those guys back out there, man. And his dad Jamie and them. They're such an awesome family still, always to be around, and they were such a big part of why Dylan was such an awesome person to be around too. But I think it's awesome that you've won it, and also,
um,
I don't know if
I
you saw.
mean, I
Did you?
think the biggest thing for me, like, with that race is like we've talked about it, with Eddie Moore kind of being like the one that was like officiating the race or whatever. We've kind of talked with Eddie and all the drivers, but Dylan's family is in attendance at that race. Like, let's drive like we have some sense. We all want to win, but let's be very, very respectful about this. And the last few years have been great, and I'm sure that means a lot to Dylan's family. And I hope that this year that, like the guys, include myself, will go the extra mile to kind of show Dylan's family, the respect that they deserve. And I, no arguing, no bickering, whatever. Like, truly be happy for whoever wins. I mean, there's a picture floating around that really, really is probably my most special picture that I have. It's the first year that I won. There's Ty and Austin and Cody. There's a bunch of guys, like, walking up to me to shake my hand. And that meant a lot to me, but I think that is what that race is all about. And I can promise you, if I don't win, I don't care if it's somebody that I dislike, they will be getting a big hug from me and a congratulations right after. So I won't be salty about it.
So just so you guys know, Jared's a hugger, in case anybody was wondering.
Hey, when it comes to memorial races, you got to hug it out.
Yeah, you do. That's right. And I don't know if you saw. I'm sure you saw the comment from Thomas Hood. You know, he had good things to say about your brother.
Yeah, I mean it.
Was he?
Yeah, I mean, losing my brother was definitely hard. I mean, not a lot of people probably know this, but the reason why I ran number 12 is for my brother. They had we all played basketball at the local church here down the street, and his basketball jersey was number 12. So when it come time for me to need a number, that's what I went with. So
I got you, and that's a great number to run, and you've had a lot of success with that. And on a lighter note, we're going to switch it up just a little bit. And Hunter Bailey is in our comments here, real quick, and he wanted me to ask you if you have a Predator National Championship.
that is one of the races that I got circled on my calendar. Yeah, but I couldn't quite get the funds together this year to do it. But who knows? Maybe next year. uh, it is what it is with the Predators, but it's kind of hard to argue with walking away with like $3,500. That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, and
I mean, it probably took more guts for Hunter to run that race than anything, because if he goes up there and runs and doesn't run well or doesn't win, it's kind of kills your confidence or whatever. But luckily everything worked out well for him. So I mean, it's tough. I would kind of put that in the same ballpark as Cody going to Dixieland this weekend to run. I mean, I'm expecting to go out there to see Cody win. And it's vice versa if I'm there, and it's a lot of pressure on you. Even if it's just a local race, it's a lot of pressure on you. There's been times I've ran out there that Cody has not been there, but he's texted me like after qualifying, like, why didn't you set the pole? Or why didn't you do this or that? And I mean, so we push each other or whatever, but it don't matter where you race. I mean, sometimes the smaller races are more pressure because you're kind of expected to do very, very well or win.
yeah, there's a lot more, especially at the level you guys are at. There's a lot more pressure. And Hunter, also just throwing this out there, Capital City has a Cobb race for a title belt if you want a belt to hold on to for your Predator Championship. So just throwing that out there. And Matthew Robinson said, "Who just won? Who just won Bristol? Matthew, you did. If you did, congrats, man." And Jared, before we get off here too, me and you, we've talked a lot about iRacing and stuff like that. And it's a great way to get some seat time when you're not racing as much. And I know you just had that race last night, and you set the pole for that one at South Boston, and you ran decent. It was hard in the back of in the middle of the pack after the invert. But I wanted to ask you, what has since you've been on iRacing, has that helped you, not since you're not running as much?
I mean, it definitely scratches the itch about it, for sure. It's fun. It's very, very realistic. I mean, I would say if real racing is kind of out of your financial budget, I mean, it's definitely a really good kind of replacement. It kind of scratches the itch. But a couple of my buddies that I help at the local track, Thomas Hazlett and Justin Hazlett and Tom Hood, Kevin Isaacs, we have like a big group, and I've known them for a long time, and that kind of helped me with my transition into learning about the iRacing, because you can't just jump up there and do well. And I mean, I'm still learning at it, but I think I've picked up on it pretty good. And I mean, I wish I could race every weekend. I wish I, had the financial means to do it or the time to do it. Like I said, it'll kind of be a bummer, going to watch, Cody and others race this weekend. I want to be out there, but the iRacing definitely, scratches that itch and that urge.
This is what you need to get used to for the weekend, Jared.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna be on the mic this weekend.
Yeah, you need to practice. Cody Carlton is our pole sitter. You can practice that one.
Oh yeah.
It's a little past 7 here, Jared. We had you on for quite a while, and we got to cover a lot of topics and more than I actually had written down. So if anybody says I don't do research, I do research to get you guys the best show and the best questions with the best guests like Mr. Jared Jackson and Mr. Cody Carlton. So, Jared, thanks for coming on here, man. And your wife said it's time to eat, so you got to go, buddy.
I got you.
I'll catch you soon, and I hope to see a video of you on the mic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But no, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. Thank all my buddies, and thank Premier Racing Chassis, Austin Wyatt for doing what he's doing for me, and Jonathan Cash and Richard Noblet for the engines. And if anybody's around the area here, around the Albemarle area, I got a little bit more time on my hands with Austin kind of taking some of the load. So I've done a lot of like chassis setups and body and seat mounting and stuff like that. And Scott Lynn's actually in the process of kind of creating a little logo for me, to give out to people that I've helped out. And I enjoy that quite a bit, because there's a lot of people that just kind of don't know, that this is backwards or whatever, and I enjoy that. So if anybody's around the area and I can help them out, feel free to send me a text. Robbie can share my number. It's fine, and I'd be glad to help y'all.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said earlier, Jared is one of the most approachable people at the racetrack. If you haven't talked to him and you don't know if you can, just go talk to him. He's easy to talk to. But Jared, thanks again for coming on here, man, and we'll see you real soon, all right?
All right, buddy. Later.
Bye. All right, guys. I think that was a great show with Cody and Jared. I know that I was a little off on some of the I lost my place because of my handwriting, to be honest with you. But I think we covered everything pretty good. Thank you guys, all of you guys, for commenting. Hunter Bailey, I didn't get a chance to talk to you last week, buddy. I wanted to talk to you at the track at the Spring Gobbler. I'll see you around at the racetrack, and we'll get a live interview with him and quite a few of these guys that have been on here. Matthew Robinson and Scott. I mentioned you earlier, buddy. Thanks. He said good show, so thank you, buddy. I'm gonna message you too. And Richard Noblet, he was mentioned on here. Richard, if you're on here, check your messages, man. And Tate, man, I can't wait to get down to Albemarle to see that awesome track for the first VDK race. I'm excited for it. It's going to be incredible racing, like always. So you guys have been awesome so far. Great comments, amount of views, likes, react, whatever you want to call it. And it's been great. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. And also be on the lookout for, I might have some special stuff to post in the next couple weeks. So midweek, nothing to do with, one of our live shows, but just be on the lookout for that stuff. I might have some cool stuff for you guys, like I did with the Bristol Dirt Nationals. So those are shots taken by Mr. Stotler himself. So if you haven't talked to him or haven't seen those, go check those out. Those are amazing shots. And before I get on a tangent, I wanted to announce our guest for next week, our first guest. He is the sponsor one of the sponsors for Mr. David Nettles and RVA Karting. and that is Mr. Tommy Jeter. Will be on at 6 o'clock next week to talk about enduro karting and, karting in general, the things that they do, and maybe his transition from that into our world of dirt karting. I've known him for a long time, and I'm sure we'll have a pretty good conversation with him. So tune in for that one. It'll be great to see from we'll get to talk to him from a different side also. So if you enjoyed this show, go ahead and give the page a like if you haven't already, and share the video too if you guys don't mind. I love to see the shares. I noticed a lot of growth from just a couple different people sharing, and I've really enjoyed all the comments and being able to bring up the different topics and things like that. So I really, really, really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys for following. Thank you guys for watching. 6 o'clock next Thursday. Be here. And we'll get to talk to Mr. Tommy Jeter, and tune in on Monday for our second guest announcement. So we'll see you guys next week.